Why do people who don't support gun control not see mass school shootings as a problem? It's not that people don't see lunatics murdering strangers as a problem. It's that they don't accept that disarming the people is the solution. Wrong question. They all think mass shootings are a serious problem. However, they disagree creating gun laws will actually have any effect. This isn't my opinion, but these are the argument they tend to make that are at least noteworthy. 1. There is an insane amount of guns in America. Even if you ban them, it would take God know how long and cost an incredible amount of resources to get all the illegal or forgotten weapons off the streets. 2. The concern that partially relates to one that if you take all the legally owned guns, what will you do about the illegal weaponry, and in the meantime how can we protect ourselves from the people who have said already illegally acquired guns? 3. It's actually not that uncommon for people to defend themselves with gun from someone with a gun or knife in the US. In fact, it's a fairly regular occurrence. 4. Outside of mass shooting, most gun violence is committed by criminals who oddly enough don't care about gun control laws. 5. This is a mental health issue, a welfare issue, and a bullying issue, not a gun issue. From a UK perspective, Americans generally all see school mass shootings as a problem. They simply disagree on what the solution should be. In the UK, instead of guns, it's rampant knife crime in specific areas. In an alternate universe where America didn't have guns, it's be safe to assume that it would be the same over there. And already does happen. In fact, I think it's worse than Britain when put into contextualized sample sizes similar to the UK. I personally think it's a mental health problem and that there should be more services in accessibility for mental health improvement in the US. Too often have I heard or seen online of a younger individual who doesn't feel like they are able to speak openly about specific problems. That's just my 2 cents though. I'll carry on drinking my tea and watch the thread devolve. Cold sweat smile hot beverage. Most of them do, but they think it's a few bad apples problem, and not one that can or should be solved by universal gun control laws that apply to everybody. They feel like gun control laws that affect them are them being punished for someone else's crime. Nobody thinks that's not a problem. People just disagree on the solution. You don't even have to be conservative to think that disarming the working class and giving the politicians and police a monopoly on violence is a bad idea. It's not that they don't see that shootings are an issue, they just do think the issue is being able to buy a gun. Take Mexico for example. There are by far more gun death there than in the US, and they are far stricter on obtaining firearms. If guns were the cause of mass shootings, as opposed to simply a tool, we would have been having issues with mass shootings for decades upon decades. The AR-15 was invented in the 1950s. Why wasn't it an issue in the 50s, 60s, 70s, etc.? Why have mass shootings only really been an issue in the last 20 years or so? What's changed about our culture and society? Is it maybe possible that it might be better to answer those questions in looking for a way to fix this problem? I'm from Brazil. We have very strict gun laws there, and guess what? In the city of Sao Paulo alone, 10 to 15 people die every night with illegal guns because the citizenry cannot defend themselves. Guns are almost prohibited. Those that wish to commit a crime will do it regardless. Whether gun, knife, car, bomb, they will do their evil deed. We do see it as a problem. It's a difficult problem to fix. If you're going to have an armed society, this is something the US is based on. There's going to be a certain number of crimes occurring that lead to death. It's just numbers. One aspect to consider is, should the criminal act of one person lead to the loss of liberty of a law-abiding citizen? We all want to decrease violence. That's a given. Because, despite the words they speak, they actually don't care about children unless the children are their own. I'm in California. I'm a Democrat. I support reasonable gun control. Living in an area where cops literally don't show up unless something is happening right then. And I have no problem with reasonable gun ownership. I live in a quasi-rural area. Why should my gun, for farm protection, be taken away because someone else feels the need to shoot innocent people? Not one person thinks school shootings aren't a problem, lol. We just think it's dumb to look at a criminal shooting people and think that that means everyone should lose the right to bear arms when a crime is committed. Punish the criminal, not law-abiding citizens. Gun control punishes law-abiding citizens far more than it punishes criminals, just by nature of there being far fewer criminals than non-criminals. And guns aren't the problem. The US has always had a massive culture around guns. Used to be even bigger. People would legit have shotguns and such in the windows of the truck they took to school so they could go hunting after. But this mass school shooting bull is recent. Relatively speaking, just a few decades ago it was unheard of for someone to do something so heinous. And yet guns were just as present. IDK about you, but that tells me guns ain't the problem. It's not that we don't think school mass shootings are problematic. It is that we don't want the government to restrict guns to the point where responsible citizens have a very hard time getting them. For me, gun control would not really keep guns out of the wrong hands in the end, i.e., criminals and people using black markets. And it would make it harder for citizens to defend themselves if there ever was an uprising, violent civil unrest. I think that mandatory gun training and more effective pre-purchase screening, registration are very good ideas. It's always a bad idea, in my opinion, to give the government more permission to limit my ability to defend my family, self, property, etc. I think they do. But from what I've heard, they believe it's the people who are the problems. A fair amount actually believe there should be better mental health counseling for more people. But they're not willing to actively support it unless they're talking about school shootings in. Even still, in politics, it's just used as a cover-up to end the conversation. It's interesting because while I believe gun control is a problem, and mental health in the US is also a problem, I can still somewhat see the appeal of guns as a hobby. Some of these people are really into it, and I can agree. These bad people are ruining what could be an enjoyable hobby, but it's been at the point for a while that something needs to change. Both sides agree school shootings are bad and need to stop. But one side wants both gun control and mental health support, and the other only wants one of those. And that's where the split comes about. At least this is my experience talking with people in the hobby. Edit. Added more spacing cause I'm on the phone and didn't notice. I do. I also think that self-defense should be allowed. Also, taking away guns won't do anything. Look at the prohibition or whatever it was called where they took away alcohol. Guns are way harder to take away though. I was a young career woman living in Florida with a great job, but needed a grad degree to get promoted. So I took night classes for my master's in Fort Lauderdale while working full-time. Class got out at midnight, and I'd pass several small groups of sketchy people hanging out as we scattered to where we found parking. And rapes and muggings did occur over the 4 years I had to do this. Since I had my Florida concealed carry permit, I had no problems walking by these gangs, but in a state with strict gun control, my career would have stalled there. I'm pretty sure some consider arms to be a right people should have in order to keep the government out of their business. The idea is that schools would be more safe with trained, armed security. Whether that's the case or not is largely unknown. The Uvalde did show that having armed security isn't always going to help if they aren't trained properly. As for me, I think the costs of repealing our right to keep and bear arms is higher than the cost of mass shootings. We live in a world where violence, and state-sanctioned violence, is rampant. In the long term, I think that surrendering our rights will do more harm than good. Basically, I prefer liberty to security. Because they don't see guns as the core issue. Our gun control is the solution to the core issue. And to be fair, guns were available for a long time before school shootings became regular problem. I'm a gun owner and I'm in favor of some new laws to limit the access of assault-style weapons as a short-term alleviation of the problem. But I do think there is a bigger issue than just gun laws. Like, even if the kid that wants to kill their classmates can't get a hold of a weapon, it is still pretty concerning that they want to do it in the first place. They think of these events as the price they are willing to pay for freedom. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. TooAfraidToAsk is like doomscrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.